Hello and welcome back to Gotham Sound's coverage of NAB 2025. We're here day 2, Monday, with Gordon from Studio Technologies. How are you, Gordon?
Great. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for showing us some rather interesting stuff that we don't always get to see in our corner of the world, but we're starting to move into. So we're excited to see what you have.
You know, our specialty is picking little areas that are interest to our customers as well as us, and really researching it. Primarily audio. We do a little bit of video, and some fiber optic. But it's really a nice challenge for us to find out applications that aren't being well served by the market, and then coming out with products that hopefully people will say, "Aha, that's designed for me," and that's when we know we've done a good job. So we're showing 3 or 4 new products this year, and I'd like to tell you about them.
Great, that's perfect. So anybody watching, you can leave questions in the chat, and we'll get them straight to Gordon. All right, Gordon, let's dive in.
Okay, we licensed Dante, I don't really know, eight years ago or so, and now have a pretty extensive collection of Dante interfaces. We have intercom, belt packs, things like that. So we've kind of extended the range of Dante in where it can be used in the audio world. One of the products I'd like to show you that we showed a rough proto last year of the Model 201 is the Model 201 interpreter console. And people came to us and said, we get often asked to do support interpreters, which are generally, human beings that can listen. Simultaneous interpretation is human beings who can listen in one language and then speak another one as in real time, right? And while AI may replace this soon, for right now, there are still experts who can listen and speak at the same time in different languages. I looked into the equipment that was available. They tend to be older, all analog, not easy to deploy. They might be expensive, but that wasn't really the issue. The cost was not the main driver. We came out with this product that has Dante as its interface, and we felt that it could join an all-digital Dante infrastructure that would let people have one-to-many interpretation positions and have the workflow that they needed for that. People have said that they've used our announcer consoles for that, and you certainly can. But the workflow is really kind of different. So if any of the viewers work in interpretation, I think you'll know that, broadcast is close, but it's not the same,
Right.
And so we researched it and came up with the terminology and the flow and came up with the Model 201. It has one Ethernet interface, which brings Dante and PoE power in and out, and you plug a headset into it. You then use our SD controller software application free of charge on our website, and you configure this unit to meet your needs. And what's nice is this can interface with like a Yamaha console, our other products, whatever. And I hate to use the word big time, but you can have a big time equivalent interpreter position with one little box like this. So what I recommend people do is, if you're familiar with the interpreter applications, go to our website, look at the user guide for the Model 201, and see if we've hit it right for you. I hope we have. And if you don't know interpretation and sometimes get called to do it, looking at the user guide of ours would give you a pretty good overview of what I feel the market's about. And what I felt, and we talked about this a few minutes ago, is it's not that audio is easy, but having a microphone connected and going from point A to point B, most audio applications, even as you get with larger consoles, to get 90 or 95% of what a job needs is not that hard.
Yeah.
It's those last few requests that come up at the last minute, and interpretation is one of them. Interfacing with analog intercom is something we're good at. That comes up also. Now, if you work in wireless, I understand frequency allocation. That's a a
Whole nother
different, a
ball
whole
game.
nother ball
Yep.
game. But to do audio is the hard part is the specials.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think we're good at coming out with that. So with
Yeah,
that,
let's talk about this.
these are prototypes of something that'll be ready early this fall. One is a 2-input general purpose input to Dante converter. And basically, we take 2 contact closures and generate high frequency tones over Dante. And so for most people doing audio, they might say, well, we don't need it. Well, usually you don't, except if someone says,
Except when you do.
except when you do.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. And the other companion product is our Model 395. Let's make sure I have the right one. That's the 94. Here's the 95. And what it's doing is taking high frequency tones in the Dante audio channels and giving you 2 contact closure outputs. And so all of a sudden now your Dante deployment is not just doing audio and intercom, but it's also doing control.
Right.
And you don't have to use these as a pair. You can say, I want my intercom, which gives me contact closures, to light a light in master control. Very easy to do with ours over Ethernet networks.
Because
So-
GPIO, that's a standard. I mean, that's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And what we said is if we convert it to high frequency tones, it can go anywhere on the network, and then we'll detect those. We also allow you to take audio, Dante audio, and mix it together. So you could say, I want audio and this control for GPI over the network, and it's very easy to do.
Great.
So those are 2 products.
Well, let's move on to this, the purple and green box we have
Sure.
here.
These products have been out for a few years, but people are getting turned on to them and liking what they do. And they are they're not mainstream, but people are liking them a lot.
Sure.
The top unit is the Model 5401A Dante leader clock. And I give Audinate, the creators of Dante, credit in that Dante does not require a separate clock. Just doesn't. You don't have to have it. You can deploy a nice application letting the units themselves clock. We developed this for our own use for our own lab because we wanted a dedicated known clock source. And we said, well, let's sell it as a product. And now these are used all over the place, Europe, Japan, all over Asia, because people, I guess, agreed with our thinking. So basically what this does is you connect to a Dante network, and it can be a primary, it can be redundant in Dante if you want, and this responds to requests for timing. And it's BTP V1 is currently used by Dante, and this is a dedicated leader clock for it.
And a couple of things to point out too, though. It has Genlock in.
Right, so you can sync to an existing signal. It can be word clock, it can be video, it can be 10 megahertz from a GPS receiver. It also produces word clock if you want to use it, very accurate. Inside this unit is a temperature controlled oscillator. So it's basically very accurate, and it's even more accurate when you lock to, I shouldn't say accurate, it's more consistent with your facility if you can lock to your existing one. We also make a version of this product called the 5402, which has a satellite receiver subsystem so that everybody says GPS, but really the nomenclature is GNSS because there's actually 4 constellations circling the globe all the time. There's GPS, which is United States. There's Galileo, which is Europe. Russia has one. China has one. Japan has an augmentation system. They put a satellite that sits over Japan and helps GPS become more accurate. We'll receive all those and lock to that.
And a couple other things I just want to point out because it's interesting for what we've primarily focused on, AC and DC power, which is great. And then you have a third network port for control. So 3 separate Ethernet ports.
We learned several years ago that having a separate port available for management, some people, some facilities really want it. And so it was, I don't want to say painful, but it'd be nice to think, oh, let's have one Ethernet interface. It doesn't work. So this unit has a primary Dante, a secondary Dante for the redundant Dante, as well as an independent management port. Now you can, through software, say, oh, management run off of primary, but you can run them completely independently, which allows a facility to keep their audio separate from their management.
Right. Right. Which if your audio is mission critical, it sometimes makes you feel like it's protected.
Right.
Yeah.
And in our office, just in testing, typically we would run everything on a single network. It's fine, but it has the capability of serving in that way.
Great. Well, let's move on to the green box now.
Sure. And what do the colors mean? The colors mean we have a good time picking the colors for products and try to make them look nice as well. Now, something people came to us and said, Dante's great, but if two different Dante networks like to meet, it doesn't always go smoothly. And I said, well, technically they should work fine together. Yes, technically you can have a truck with, let's say, 50 Dante devices and a concert hall or venue with 100 Dante devices. Theoretically, you can connect them all to the same subnet and they'll work fine. But the problem is, in reality, they don't always play nice together. You might have multiple DHCP servers providing IP addresses. If you have a fixed facility that never sees an outside Dante network, then it's fine. But this allows two independent Dante networks to link with independent clocking, independent sample rates, and people now, especially, let's say in trucks, are putting these in venues where visitors outside come in and want to link to your network. This has A and B Dante interfaces. So literally two independent networks, and the networks don't have to be the same sample rate. One can be a redundant network, one can be a single network, and circuitry inside the box does sample rate conversion. So you could have a music facility that's 96K sample, and a truck rolls in to do a video shoot about you. You're running 48. There's no problem. It will convert
right over. Great.
So that's been more successful than we thought because people said saves a lot of time.
Yeah. And so let's move on to that last box on the very end. Maybe bring it over here so we can see it. What do we have here? Starting
about 5 years ago, we started approaching the emerging, it's really a broadcast standard, ST2110. And we started out with some conversion boxes. They got installed in some major applications, but it was tricky. It's not for the faint-hearted to set up a 2110 network. And it's gotten better and better, and the ability of multiple manufacturers to work together has improved, and we felt the time is right. So we're coming out with a set of 3 different announcer consoles. So this is typically for live events, for an announcer at a sports venue or an award show, something like that, where this particular model has 1 main and 6 talkback channels, but we're also offering versions with 4 talkback and 2 talkback. And the concept is, this is native ST2110, right? Dante is one method, 2110 is another, and the back isn't labeled because it's a prototype that we'll have ready in the fall. But again, it has 3 interfaces, and Dante has redundant. ST2110 uses a standard, sorry to get tweaky, I can't help myself. Right. It has support for the standard 2022. So 2022-7 is what's called redundant streams. And that's how you can take 2 independent network connections and it will switch over between them. If you lose packets, it'll reassemble the stream. So a lot of people like that. so that, let's say you have a link from New York to Paris. If you're running redundant, there's separate paths those packets are going. And in theory, if it's set up correctly, if one goes away or starts becoming glitchy, your audio will heal. It will not have an issue. So we have two interfaces for that, and then again, an independent management interface.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, look, so it kind of sounds like it's similar with diversity antennas or true diversity, where the packets will kind of get stitched back together at the end.
Right, exactly. And the receiver says, what's the order that they're supposed to be in, and it'll rearrange. It'll take packets from the alternate network. And so we're planning on adding now that 2110 is getting more mature and the broadcasters are adopting it, we're going to come out with more products for that.
Very cool. All right. Well, Gordon, just one comment from one of our viewers. Christopher says that Studio Tech's always been awesome and that you are fantastic at adding suggested features where it makes sense. So,
oh, that's nice. And we like to think that we come up with these great ideas ourselves. But the reality is we learn an awful lot from our users. And even at the show yesterday and today, like this morning, I already wrote one of our programmers and said, hey, somebody asked about this. Can we do this? And luckily his response was, yeah, I never thought of that, but it should be possible. So thank you for the nice comment. And we can't do everything that people ask, but we sure take it seriously. And a lot of it we do incorporate.
That's great. That's great. All right, perfect. What's the website? How can people get in touch with you?
Our website is studio, studio -tech, tech.com. The www is on the way out, as you know.
Yep.
And so we're set up just for the studio-tech.com domain. We try to put everything about our products, photographs, user guides, all the documentation on there, so that hopefully not only is it a sales tool for people, but I hope it's an educational piece. And we're not always right. If we're wrong, just send me an email and say, hey, page 27's wrong. It's fine. Yeah, that's good. That's how we get better.
Nice. All right, great. Well, Gordon, thank you so much. Appreciate you taking the time. And thank you all for watching. Stay tuned for more coverage from NAB 2025. As always, you can see this video and more at gothamsound.tv. You can follow us on all the different social medias. Email us at info@gothamsound.com if you want to talk about anything. And if you are considering making a purchase of professional audio or communications equipment, please consider Gotham Sound. See you soon.